Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Blazing X, and welcome back to Cosmoteer. Today, we will be going over the 2022 Blazing X Ship Inventory Tour. So what we'll be doing is essentially going through all the most updated. I know in the past I did like literally every single ship I had, like all variants. I won't be doing that this time. I will simply be going over all the newest updated versions of the ships. Note, I don't have very many modded ships, so I ain't gonna include those. However, I am in fact going to go over, so there's going to be 4 parts. I'm going to be going over the Scrub Army, like as in the Scrub Army inventory, small ships like 0 to 500k, ships between 500k and 1 mil, and everything after that. However, without further ado, let us begin. Alrighty, so the first off, we have, actually, do I want to turn this on? Maybe not, actually. Yeah, maybe not. I'm gonna keep that off for now because there's like 200 ships loaded right now. It's not a pretty time. Right here we have the entire Scrub Army. We have exclusive ships that didn't come out. We have ships that I rarely use and a whole bunch of other things. So up on the top left here, we got the Big Daddy Scrub V5. This is the most updated version of the Big Daddy. Over here we got the Assassin Scrub. I didn't make a second version, but I plan to make a second version eventually with superior thrust and probably 1 reactor. Because let's be honest, 2 on this thing is no. This shouldn't be like this. Next up we got the Big Brother Scrub, which was, if you guys were around in 2020, was basically the part of the innovation, part of the process that eventually created the Big Daddy Scrub. And no, I didn't have this in any particular order. I just placed them down as they came. So next up, we got the Bomber Scrub. Now this is the original, this is the built off of the Missile Scrub, or the concept of the Missile Scrub. Essentially a light barge that can deal a little bit of damage. A little bit, not an insane amount, but a little bit. And basically the more you have, the more powerful you are. Mind you, when you're dealing with King and he sends over one of his giant monstrosities, or Eric for that matter, and then there's no amount of these that are going to save your soul. So the next up is the Electro Scrub. Yes, the classics. This was, at the time of 2020, one of my ships. I used to have something, for fans who don't know, called the Scrub Combo, where I would have before the existence of the Guardian Scrub, I would send out one of these in a Big Daddy V3, and it was actually quite the effective grouping. And as well, at the time, I'm not sure if they still work like that now, but the Scrubs kind of go side by side, but in between each other. So like sometimes the Big Daddy would get hit, and then sometimes the Electro Scrub would get hit, and one would be shielding the other. It was actually quite the tactic. I didn't even plan for that to happen. It just did. You guys can go look that up in 2020 vids, like in the playlist. You'll find tons of them. However, thank you, autosave. Thank you. However, let's move on. Alrighty. So this is the Ghostly Scrub. This is one of the newest ones I have built. It is derived actually from Yare's, I believe it's 360 carrier. I was inspired by his 360 carrier. I think it's his 360 carrier. I think it's the name. But essentially, it's a missile barge force 360k, and it's quite the effective unit. And I got inspiration from that, and it created this thing. Now, I will give credit on one thing. The Ghostly Scrub can actually pump out a lot of missiles. I will give credit to that. But where it excels in missile production, it lacks in defense severely. All you need to do is 1 missile shot straight through here, and this ship is done. Alrighty, is there anything to decide now? Okay, so next up is the Landmine Scrub. This one, I'm fairly proud of this one, but it was just a very simple design. Essentially, this thing spins around and throwing landmines. You can keep it in a general area, and it is good. It actually does produce a fair amount of landmines fairly quick. And it isn't meant for battle. It's not meant to be sent out into a battle. It's meant to it's specifically built for domination. Like, you're not supposed to send this in the battle. You just meant to literally send it. Kind of like the back in the day we had the defense probe. This thing is essentially that, but spam landmines and then run. Oh, yes, and here we go into even more of the classics. This is the King Scrub. This is a monster. It's worth 1.5 mil. Has actually half decent shielding for its time. Still actually pretty good shielding. However, it lacks so many things. It's so slow. It is very ultra slow. I am planning to actually make an updated version of this at some point. I'm not sure when. But I do plan to, maybe after the 1.0 release. We'll see what happens. Oh yeah, am I missing? No, I'm not missing. Okay. So next up is the Hunter Scrub. So this was essentially going to take place of what is now the Guardian Scrub. And the problem was, while it was very agile, it lacked severe defense. It was not good effectively as a defense unit. All it would take, it was very fragile, as you can see. There's not much armor on it, which would make the Big Daddy Scrub V5 of today far superior. Next up over here, this is, as you guys all are very aware, the Heavy Infantry Scrub V2. This is a monster. It's the newest one in my arsenal. It's not bad, but very bulky. Very bulky, I will say that. However, it was not bad. It's pretty solid design. Yes, again, people will argue, oh, Blazing, you don't put enough weapons on. Yes, I do not put enough weapons on. But do I care? Probably not. Probably not. I don't really. Honestly, I care a little. Considering that we're playing in Dom, I'm not gonna build massive monstrosities for Dom. I'm still trying to keep the cost at a reasonable level. I don't want to go like 1.5 mil. But also I like to have more defense and offense. And I will give credit on one thing: the shields on the Heavy Infantry Scrub, as well as the armor, is pretty solid unless you get run-ins from behind or with a railgun. But mind you, to be fair, that's a railgun. It's not really fair. Emperor one-shots these things, no problem. And to the well, actually, technically, sort of the middle ground, the middleman, the Guardian Scrub V2. This is still actually not a bad ship. The only reason I don't use it as much as I used to is because the Big Daddy V5 has the same amount of weapons and just goes so much faster. Yes, this thing will win on a one-on-one any day. But at the same time, this guy just goes so much faster, and this guy's also a lot more costly, as you can clearly see. It's 280k. This thing's like 150, I think. Yeah, 232. So, 50k difference. That's a lot, especially in Dom. So next up is the Missile Scrub, as you guys are all aware. This is, again, I derived the idea of the Bomber Scrub off this. Not a bad ship, but I think I definitely, in the future, if I'm going to continue using this, should probably rip the 2 reactors out and just keep 1. It's probably a solid idea. But again, it kind of takes away the symmetrical capability of this ship. But hey, that's not really my, well, sort of is my problem. And on to a more classic note. This is, as you guys are all very aware, the Nuclear Scrub. Again, it was a fan favorite back in the day, or like I should say in 2020. It was quite the fan favorite. Had its moments. I know numerous times I make 4 or 5 of these. I used to call it the Nuke Squad. Or the Nuke Fleet. No, Nuke Squad. I used to call it Nuke Squad. I used to send it in and try to bomb someone. And while they were pretty effective, the shields were actually quite okay. I'll give credit to the shields. They would just get obliterated so quickly. And then on to the Pirate Scrub. You guys are all aware of this boy. I don't use it as much as I used to just because it's not as fast as I like it. But I definitely still use it in a stationary stance. Maybe keep it somewhere and let the ghostly scrub run around. And on to more ships that we don't really use much. Is the Scrub Elite. which you guys are well aware of was a complete failure. It was. It really was. It's not the greatest of ships. The only thing I'll give credit for is it's fairly fast and the landmines go pretty well. And in the commando scrub, you guys all know who this fella is. You guys are all aware. There we go. That's way better. But yeah, that's the commando scrub. You guys all know who he is. In the beautiful Scrub 5G network. Yes, this is I used to use this in earlier games, and I would drop satellites all around the enemy points, allowing me to see what they have in their inventory. There's one video, I think, Save the Satellite, I think it's called. I forget. But essentially the joke was, let's try to save the satellite that's hiding on the other side, or that's sitting on the other side of an enemy outpost. I think it was Hollow One. I think it was Hollow One Z trying to kill it, and King's like, no, we ain't gonna let this die just yet. And then eventually it does die. But still, that was a funny night. I think it was a live stream, actually. I think it might have. I'm not sure. I forget. I honestly forget it. I think it might have been, though. Alrighty. Next up is the ramming scrub. You guys, I used to use this a little bit. I didn't use it much when I built it. I would still use it in like a ramming game, like as in if we were like trying to go like almost like a jousting type deal. It's not bad, but I more built it for like if you had 2 or 3 coming together and trying to push an object away. That was kind of the point of it, considering it has the boost thrust on the back. But yeah. And here is probably the most classic scrub of them all, the Scrub V4, the original boy himself. You guys know the story behind that. My buddy had a ship called the Flight Link. Me and Flubbery were trying to figure out a way to counter the Flight Link, and I said, you know what, that thing is 47,000, hence why I have a minimum of 47,000 in the game. In domination, and I said, you know what, let's build something to fairly counteract. And the scrub was born. The original scrub was born because of the little feud we had. A fun feud, mind you. And here we have a little bit of the Scrub Mafia. We have Scrub Mafia, and we have Scrub Mafia Elite. I built these like literally mid-game. We had a challenge one game, and we were literally allowed to build the ships that we wanted to build, but we had to build them in-game, and so we were using costs all at the same time. It was actually quite fun, quite interesting. We never did a game like that again. I think it's even on record. I think it's on record somewhere. I had to look. But then we get this, and this is technically the only. Actually, it's not anymore. I just realized it is not the only carrier in the Scrub Army. This is, of course, well, I'll wait till autosave's done. Alright. And this is as you guys are all aware, the infamous Mother's Scrub. Kind of a kind of a Geonosis hive mind vibe here, sort of, if you get what I mean. It's the biggest carrier in the Scrub Army that we have. It's quite nice because it was of, I believe, 10 ships. I'm looking here, 3, 6, 8, 12. Okay, so 12 ships, making it actually not terrible, and it consists of 4 Guardian Scrub V1s, 2 Big Daddy V4s, 2 Electros, and 2 Scrub V3s. Which now, honestly, should be updated, because I think an updated version of this with all the newer stuff would be a terrifying monstrosity. Think about it. 4 Guardian Scrub V2s, 2 Big Daddy V5s. I think I need to update the Electro Scrub at some point, because this is so old and hasn't had an update in forever. But 4 Scrub V4s, this would be a terrifying monstrosity. And I'm going to get on to some more interesting ships. So as you guys are aware, this guy is the infamous Speedy McScrub. We've had a lot of journeys with him over these past few months, trying to go into zones, taking them and run. It reminds me sort of, I think of the Speedy McScrub, and if memory serves me, I built it in the time where, in that brief period in Cosmoteer history where Walt allowed it so that regardless of if you had a ship in your zone or not, people could at least bring it down to neutral, which everyone hated. Literally everyone. I don't know anyone who liked that time period because it destroyed the purpose of Dom as a whole. Well, actually, it did. It did. It made it more interesting, but at the same time, it was a pain to try to keep your zones because even if you had someone in your zone, they could at least your enemy could bring it back to neutral. So this was kind of my way of utilizing that ability as best I could. Hence the Speedy McScrub. Over here, you have the Advanced Scrub. This was to take place of the Electro Scrub and the Scrub V3. It, by obvious looks, did not work out at all. I never made a V2 of it. It was just so horrible. It was horrible. And on to the Siege Scrub. This is the predecessor to the Heavy Infantry Scrub. I actually got inspiration to build this off some of King's designs. As you can sort of see, the front end is sort of King-esque, sort of on some of his models. Again, King is probably the greatest domination builders I have ever seen. His designs are almost near flawless. Like, the only reason you kill one of those things is because you absolutely brute forced it. And to the last two, I think it's the last two? Yeah, it's the last two. And the last two here, we have the Squad Scrub, which is the newest one in the group. This guy is essentially to allow more units to get to places faster and more effectively, and it does work for most of the time. It does work. However, the only unfortunate thing is that there's a lot. There's only 3 ships versus 12. However, it is what it is. And at last, the Tactical Nuke Scrub. This again was built off inspiration from the Nuclear Scrub. Again, Nuclear Scrub had a lot of fun with. This guy I've also had a lot of fun with too. The only thing that sucks about this guy is that its shields does not last as long as the Nuclear Scrub original. It does not. It is significantly faster though. I will give credit to that. It is significantly faster. And it has point defense too. That's kind of why I added it. However, this is the entire Scrub inventory for my stuff, for all my ships. This is all the Scrubs. So in a moment, we are going to go to all the smaller ships. Alrighty. So as you can see, there are a decent sized amount of smaller ships. You can tell sort of some of them are copies of others in that group. They are all like, I didn't copy off anyone's designs, but some look like copies of other designs that I have done. Like as you can see here, there's like 2 or 3. Like these two look very similar, and they do. Actually, no, one's an X-wing, one's a TIE fighter. A lot of my smaller ships though are very stupid. I use them for like cheap like just goofing around, things like that. But you can see some actual ones I'm putting some decent work into. The main ones being the standard. I don't know. I used this for a very brief time before Scrub Army became a real big thing on my channel. This was another attempt at me trying to get rid of the Electro Scrub, and it failed miserably, absolutely miserably. It was slow. It had lack of defense. It was not great. It was not agile in the slightest. And then you had the Soldier. This was my attempt at getting rid of the Big Daddy Scrub. It was a flunk, very slow, too much armor, and a lot of reactors. Too many reactors. Let's see. I'm not gonna go over all of them just because there's so many. But here we go. Here we have the Aircraft Carrier V2. This was actually quite fun to use. It's not, those are not Scrubs on there. I just want to point out these are not Scrubs. These are just little fighters that I put on there. I use them just for reinforcement purposes, and you guys saw them, me use them in the Fleet Destruction Challenge. Yeah. Where I try to destroy the Malevolence. However, over here, oh yes, here's the defense probe, missile defense. So this is the thing. Came before the bomber scrub. This came before the missile scrub. This was the original. This was the mesh. This was the original prototype that eventually led to that. As well as also this, you guys remember this, the expendable bomber. He was actually pretty decent. The only problem with him was that he was slow. He was too slow. Where was it? Oh yeah, right here. We have the High Protection Fighter V3. This guy, I just recently actually updated him fairly recently. It has way more, actually, as you can see, it has a little bit of side capability for attack. Considering I noticed a lot when I was using it before, it would just sort of it wouldn't be able to tackle enemies from the side. Well, now it sort of can briefly. And oh, you guys know Santa Claus. You guys know Santa Claus. Where is... I know I noticed one... Where is it? I know you're in here. Where are you? Oh, maybe it's above 500. Yeah, it probably is. Here's the basic battle fighter. Oh, no, here's the one I want to show, yeah. As you can see, this is I call this the Flying Dutchman. I do not know why I called it the Flying Dutchman. It is nothing like the Flying Dutchman in the least. Other than the fact that for what I was doing at the time, it was actually the fastest ship that I had. It's just goofing around, a little bit of railguns. It doesn't even, you can tell that this is actually, hold on. Yeah, you can tell it's a very old design because look at this, like, it's not even arranged properly. But it wasn't bad. This is a little, actually, yeah, this is a little newer. This is the Flak Battery Disruptor Fighter. It's slow, but it does take down flaks pretty quickly, pretty effectively. If you're going head on. Side, not so much, but head on, yeah. It as well the classic advanced Separatist Droid Fighter that I used a long time ago in 2020. I was using it all the time. It's sort of my heavy ship, my heaviest ship at the time that could deal the most damage, which is sad in comparison to today. But you know, times are different. There's a whole bunch of mini ships. I don't want to go over them because some of them are stupid. But we got like the distraction right there. We got the bomber plane, which actually is the original model for bomber plane Timmy, which I'll be showing later on. Other than that, we got a whole bunch of TIE fighter models. Oh, and thank you, autosave. Alright, we're back from the autosave. And anyways, there is, like, we got the Jedi Starfighter. I used to use that a lot early on in 2020. It was basically what later on became the Big Daddy. And other than that, there's not much. Oh, this one actually. Oh, where is it? Hold on. There's actually one more. This is where it all began. This was my first ship. No, this is the most updated version of my first ship. Before I'm told the story a lot, but I'm going to tell it again just because for newer people you might not know. When I first joined Cosmoteer in early 2018, I didn't understand the concept of point defense and lasers. So what I did was I reversed, like I understood thrusters, but I didn't understand this, so I literally reversed these so that the point defense were in the front, the lasers were in the back, and there was no armor. There was nothing. And quite literally, this thing would fly backwards. Inside out backwards. There was no armor as well. There was zero armor. Minimum crew. It was horrible design. But considering it's your first ship, expect that. Really expect that. And I'm starting to lose my voice, which just sucks. Okay. However, I think that is it for small ships. I'm not going over every single one individually. There's like 90, no, that's about 30 or 40 here. I forget how many. A lot, in other words. However, let us move on to the bigger ships. Alrighty, and this is the big ships. These are the bigger ones, and actually quite a small category. So I'm actually going to go over these each individually. So I'm actually going to go for the right here, because this is the most iconic ship, apart from maybe the Scrub V3, on my channel. Yes, of course, Bomber Plane Timmy. This guy was developed straight on the field. As you can see, it's very messed around with. There's not much organization, and you can actually see where the original bomber plane was at one time. You can sort of. This is built over many, many years. Again, not the greatest ship, but it's so much fun to play with. And it's, every time bomber plane Timmy blows up, it's like, why, Timmy? Why do you have to explode? And it's like, 7 reactors at one spot. So unorganized, but at the same time, it is Timmy. It is Bomber Plane Timmy. We make the excuse. And these 2 ships right here, these are actually test ships, replicas / toy cruisers. I use these 2 for mainly firepower usage, like in the front, so I can test how well shields work and how fast a ship can be. So, like, you're trying to get around ships. As you can see, they're absolutely ugly as can be. Well, actually, the left one isn't too bad. But this one right here is absolutely... it's sad. It is very sad. And the next one here, this is the Arrow. I used this in the Christmas challenge last year. And I believe the Crossy Roads challenge as well. This is very simplistic. Just a single long railgun. And it does pretty well. It's not bad. I wouldn't send this in battle, mind you, but not bad. And as well, right here, this is the very first ship I ever built in the Bounty Hunter world, back in 2018, based off the Model C. Not bad. For its time period. As you can see, I did update it over the years. But again, this is built mid-game, and I'm just trying to survive as best I can, so I'm just trying to upgrade it minimally. And over here, this is another one of the toy cruisers I use. This is just for test purposes, just test ships. But right here is actually the basic Navy vessel. I use this sometimes just to mess around with people. I use it sometimes in an arena just to try to get a little bit of points. It has been fairly updated, and shields are okay, but there's one too many reactors, way too many reactors. Again, over here, there is another, this is just a pirate vessel, another test ship, mainly do with railguns, but also I like to mess around, kind of do like Pirates of the Caribbean type deal, where I see how messed up we can make the ship before it explodes. And sometimes it actually gets really hilarious. If you actually want to see a video similar to that, where I just literally take these ships, go on AI, and watch them to see how stupid they get, and also maybe me, myself, using the ships and trying to blow them up, leave a comment down below, #pirates. Because that would be hilarious. That genuinely would. Also right here, we got 2 of the more well-known ships. We got the Hemisphere Posse, which definitely needs an upgrade. This was at the time a smaller version, kind of like doing gangster style. Hemisphere, not great, but better than nothing. 900k, which personally is not worth it. And over here, we got the UFO 619. This thing's a bomb waiting to go off. So many reactors, so many unnecessary reactors. I essentially built this for one reason only, to allow for this ship to be able to pull other ships back into like domination, like back into the main zone, so I can heal them up. It is good at it. It's actually quite fast and very agile. And over here are the final 2. This is the light bomber. This was the predecessor to the ghostly scrub, or one of the predecessors. There was multiple. And this was essentially designed to be something very quick and very agile. But it did not perform well at all. It was horrible, and the project was stopped. And here is the Blazing X edition of the standard Star Destroyer. A lot of power. This is probably one of my more like forceful, powerful ships that I have. As you guys are all aware, this is actually quite powerful for what it is. There's like 12. I think there's 12 guns. I think 3. Yeah, so there's 12 guns, which is pretty good. Not bad for a ship of its size. But one too many reactors still. However, these are the larger ships, and now to go on to the really big boys. Alrighty. This is where the fun begins, and already you can tell on the right hand side, there's been some very interesting ships over the years. You can actually see some of them. I might not even zoom in on some of these. Over here, you get some of the smaller ones. You get the final version Separatist Cruiser. I used this a few times. It's not a good version. It's very crappy. It's very poor. I will be making a new version of that because it's sad. But it's okay for light attacks. It's okay. Move slow, which kind of sucks. But over here, we got a prototype cruiser. This has it's okay power. Okay. Shields are actually quite good. I was impressed. The shields are actually quite good on that. And we got the hammer, the tanker right here, which essentially is the arrow with 2 additional railguns, just to give a little more oomph. Again, another prototype cruiser that I just used for testing purposes. And here we got the Blazing X aircraft carrier. This is a lot more firepower. It has 12 fighter jets, and it's actually 10 fighter jets. My bad. And it's a nightmare to deal with, but it's not as bad as dealing with a mother scrub. It isn't. And over here, we got a little more. So we got like the Confederation capital ship, which doesn't look like it should. It's missing the inside piece here. But back then when I built this, I was going more for just the circular inner look. And right here, we got the Blazing Sphere. One too many reactors, way too many reactors. It is a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. However, there's tons of shielding and as well tons of armor. It's not terrible, but once it gets through the armor, it's dead. And as well here, we got the Storm of Thorns, really old ship that I built. Not great. It's not good at all. I mean, look, this just shows the stupidity of Blazing X in 2019 here. Like, way too many reactors. I mean, look at this. You can tell this is when railguns recently had come out, because look how I did the accelerators. I didn't know how to use them. And you can also tell too, because look, I didn't even know how to use engine rooms back then. Like, that's how bad I was then. So to people who say I'm a shitty builder now, watch this video, because you'll see just how stupid Blazing X got. Or I should say was to be a proper term. And then over here you have the Negotiator. This wasn't bad. It wasn't, but I wanted to make it look like a Republic cruiser, kind of like this over here, the patrol shuttle. But it didn't. But it did offer a fair good chunk of defense. And it wasn't bad, but it was more a defensive ship than anything else. And here we got the way more iconic, I should say, Hemisphere. A former champion, stayed for 3 seasons before finally being defeated by the Unholy Immortality, which again was a great ship, but it didn't last as long, which I found kind of sad. If you guys actually want to see an alternate ending to how the season 6 went out when the Hemisphere lost, there's a video in the Patreon right now showing an alternate ending, and there's a reason why I didn't use that footage. It looks very rigged, and that was not cool with me. I did not like how it ended at all. You'll see what I mean if you guys look. Link in the description below. And here we have my version of how to try to beat a terror back in 2020. This was horrible. This is a crappy idea. Look at this again. Blazing, trying to figure out how railguns work. This is like, actually, this is I argue 2019. Yeah, this is more like 2019. It was horrible. This ship was horrible. These days, they could probably make it a lot better. All I'd have to literally do is move these accelerators to the proper position. It actually wouldn't be too bad. But again, the missile pods are massive. Everything's messy. Very messy. As well, you had this. Because of the fact that the ship didn't have much armor, I was trying to protect as best I could. And over here, we got the Enhanced Enforcer. You guys remember this. This is the newest version, which is like 3 or 4 years old in itself. This is the predecessor to the Hemisphere. Not a good ship. Very poor. Needs serious upgrade. I mean, look at this. The engine rooms are. This is the stupidity once again of Blazing X. There's absolutely. I mean, the engine rooms are not even remotely where they're supposed to be. But that's how I thought they worked for some reason. My brain said, "Oh yeah, if you just put them anywhere on the ship, they'll work." Wrong. And over here you got this is a random frigate I built. I don't know why I built this. I think I was trying to go for like a final order type deal, like it's in from Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, where it had like a big Death Star laser built in the back. But that did not go that well. And over here we're actually getting into a little better stuff. We got actually a modded, a little bit rigged up super version of the pirate vessel you guys saw recently. This is again just for testing purposes. Phantom's knives, similar to Storm of Thorns. Not great. The turn of events, this was essentially my first carrier. It was mediocre at best. I wouldn't have used it in battle nowadays. King would crush that one shot with any of his ships. And then we get to this boy, the Soviet Electric Fly, which was built by me, Decoded Bunny, and Yare. We had a lot of fun that night. That was a lot of fun. And as well, we got the Nuclear Drop V2. This is essentially a suicide bomb waiting to happen. It quite literally is. I mean, there's so many nukes on it. There's like, what, 10 nukes, 10, 12 nukes? It's, oh my gosh, it's one too many. But it does get the job done if it hits on target. So over here, we got a couple of Star Destroyer prototypes. This was, again, trying to be like a final order type deal. Didn't work too well. It was kind of sad, as well as this guy. But then we get the Stunner. You guys are all aware of the Stunner. It was in the season 1 through 4 of the Cosmoteer tournament. It was good. It was actually good. It almost became the first champion in its day. And it's not bad. It likes to have a tactical where it just slowly rotates around the ship, just fast enough so they can't catch them, and just starts spamming EMPs. And as well, this is the Bismarck. Yes, it is a good reference to a certain ship during the Second World War. I don't know why I did it that way. I just did. I'm like, hey, let's just make an unstoppable monstrosity, and we'll call it that. I don't know why. It just came up in my head. 2019 Blazing, again, being 2019 Blazing. Then we get to the Separatist Dreadnought. This needs an upgrade. I think this could actually be quite the good ship if we gave it minor upgrades. But again, we had the problem down here where thrusters are lacking in the defense. Well, side thrust actually is pretty good. Side thrust is pretty good, but the back thrust is not. And then we have the Waymaker. You guys all remember this from Season 3, where it attempted to try to actually beat the slow but painful. It was pretty good. It's a pretty good fight, but in the end, the Waymaker did not pass. And then over here, we actually got a little bit of a better, but not as powerful Star Destroyer. Has a whole, actually, more of an interdictor class, because it has the tractor beams in there. So kind of like trying to bring them in. But then again, all Star Destroyers had tractor beams, so the only thing about an interdictor is I can rip people straight out of hyperspace. This can't. And over here, now we're getting to the more interesting stuff. Over here, we got a Separatist Armada, so it's literally just a whole bunch of Separatist droid fighters. It is a pain to deal with. There's 24 of them there. Actually, no, there's 20 of them there. My bad. There used to be 24, and there's only 20 just because of cost issues. And here we have the slow but painful, and we actually got a couple of very interesting ships. Over here is actually the Warhead. This was the early idea of the nuke in my mind. This is before the nuke ever released. I was trying to kill a terror. I'm like, hey, how can we destroy a terror? And my idea cost me $15 million. Go figure. And a lot of that $15 million wasted on detonators that at the time I thought would blow up and hurt them. Wrong. And here we have the trash compactor. You guys seen this many times. It takes in ships and literally eats them for breakfast. A lot of fun. This thing's actually be able to hang on to or even hold down the hemisphere, which is a feat in itself, considering the hemisphere is pretty fast now with a half decent amount of power. And here we have the slow but painful, a former champion in his own right. Didn't last long though. And the predecessor is the cannon, which has a lot more. Actually, I think it has equal. No, it doesn't. It has double the amount of ion beams as the slow but painful, but it also has, a lot more defense. This is a more defensive ship than anything else. But it was fun to make at the time. It's like, what? It's so much, 6.8 mil. And the last two here are the Superstar Destroyer V3. This is the first ever winner of the Blazing X Cosmoteer tournament. It was good for its time. It does need changes, though. It definitely does need an update, but not bad for its time period. And the last one is the Soviet the face of the improved era V3. This guy was actually to replace the hemisphere, but then one of my buddies like, hey, you should fix up the hemisphere. It'd actually be quite the opponent. I'm like, no, but they're like, yeah, I do it. I'm like, fine. And I actually did it, and it became what it is today. It did eventually overpower this thing. It could easily do it today. Man, it was quite... I actually will probably show it at the end of this video, because it can actually take this thing out very quickly. However, this is all my collection. This is everything I've built. All these ships I built, or I should say all the ships I showed here today, I did build myself. I did not, apart from a little bit of inspiration here and there, I built them all myself, all my designs. I did not take them from off the internet. I can guarantee you that. As you guys know, I do not like taking other people's designs. I feel douchey about it. So, and plus, you can tell the stupidity of my designs that they're mine. Only Blazing is stupid enough to do this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, the stupidity that was me. Alrighty. And before this ship tour ends, I do actually want to show you guys the difference in power. So at one time, if you knew me back a little in early 2020, right before March 2020, this was my biggest powerhouse to face the improved era, and the hemisphere was a thing of the past. However, my friends decided to tell me, hey, you should update that thing, and this is the result of that. Actually, these need to be on go. There we go. Let's see what happens here. I want to show you guys. And actually, part of the reason for the armor in the front of the hemisphere is actually because of the ship, because of the extreme amount of railgun fire that I would actually be taking back in the day. You can see the difference in damage that's being taken here. Oh my gosh. That's already a good sized chunk of damage over there. Oh my goodness gracious. But yeah, as you can see, this thing's running out of power in numerous places. The missiles aren't getting to where they should be in time, and it's just crashing. It's crashing and burning so hard. Oh yeah, one of the cannon's already gone. This is a lot of destruction right off the bat. I mean, look at this. Two of the main cannons are gone. It's just the main one left. And then, yeah, the missiles are just wreaking havoc. This is what happens when you actually get some experience under your belt. You actually start building ships that are not terrible. Oh my gosh. I mean, I knew this would happen. Watch it all over again. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, they're just destroying her. Oh my gosh, the sides are just being torn apart. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm this thing's just completely. This thing's completely destroyed. Meanwhile, the hemisphere has one hole in the back, and that's it. Everything is still running perfectly fine. Like, the hemisphere has taken worse hits before. Yeah, this thing's basically dead. Anyways, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like down below and subscribe for some of my content. Also, leave a comment down below on an enemy play or review next. In other net, this has been the Blazing X 2022 ship tour, and I will see you all in the next video.